the intro's going. Sorry we're late, guys.
Okay, so we're on YouTube now?
I'll tell you.
Mic check,
I'll
mic check.
They can hear us, but they don't mind. They're used to us. Oh. Yeah.
Woo, it's
Hey.
5 o'clock or so.
It's 5 o'clock, and you're watching Tony and Chelsea live. And this episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. So try Squarespace at squarespace.com/Tony. You get 14 days for free. Okay? No credit card needed. And if you like it, you can use the coupon code PORTFOLIO and get 10% off. Today is a very, very exciting show because we have top photographer winner and very talented photographer Scott Borrero with us to help review your portraits. Hello, Scott.
Hey guys, how's it going?
You're out in San Fran, right?
Yes, I am.
We have some viewers there. They'll be excited to know they have a celebrity in their town.
Thanks for joining us, and congrats on winning top photographer. We should give people the password so they can start sending in portraits. We don't have a slide, but go to stp.io/submit and then use the password AAU, which is a school like Scott went to, because people try to submit their pictures early by guessing the password. So now, if you want to guess the password, you have to do some hacking. Like, maybe you can research the guest and figure out what the password is.
Do some stalking.
Get your submission in early.
I chose this photo here. This is the picture that won top photographer for Scott. This was his last challenge.
Funny, it's actually right there too.
Oh, it's on your wall.
Yeah.
Oh, you went black and white in the print, or is that just
No, it's just
the webcam? Oh, okay. I think it could work in black and white too. Beautiful use of lines.
Yeah.
I snagged that.
Yeah, that was an amazing shoot. That was fun to just watch on the last episode. Everyone, you have to go to see Top Photographer. How many episodes were there?
There's five total.
It seemed really short because
Yeah, I mean, it was only a month long, but it was intense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was intense for you, but I was just sitting on the couch wishing for more episodes.
Yeah, right. Especially when you can like binge them now, it's like, oh, it was nervous actually. I mean, even though I knew what was going to happen, watching them again was enough to bring all the nerves back.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it the first time you had ever done something like that? Been on camera like that?
I've been on camera before, but never on a reality show or like a competition like that, I guess. Never really been in a photo competition, so the nerves were at an all-time high. That's for sure.
Yeah, what was that like? Because in many of the scenarios, they'd give you like 20 or 30 minutes to get a shot, and that's probably not the conditions you're used to working in, right?
No, I mean, you're only given, like, from the point that they tell you what you're actually shooting, you're given 30 minutes to shoot and then 30 minutes to edit, which is pretty unrealistic in an ideal or in like a normal situation, but for the sake of TV and like the intensity, I think it was a really good challenge. It definitely pushed me.
Yeah. Now, this is a minutia question, but when they say 30 minutes to edit, they didn't include the time that Lightroom would have to be importing and rendering previews, right? Because that always takes me like hours.
Actually, it was funny. In the first episode they did, and then we talked to them. We're like, guys, listen, the photos should be in Lightroom. We shouldn't have to actually upload. And it should be
because that takes forever.
Yeah, because we were uploading at first, and we're shooting on the newest cameras. So the file sizes are actually pretty large if you're shooting in RAW. So it was an issue, and I was like, oh man, 30 minutes or 10 minutes of that 30 minutes is just going to be uploading.
That's what we said when we were watching the show. I think you guys shot with the 5 DSR, and we were like, 30 minutes. It's going to take them 15 just to get those in the Lightroom.
Yeah, give me a 12 megapixel 5D. That's what I want.
Yeah, there you go. Shoot small JPEGs.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see if we... Oh, so I wanted to direct all of you to Scott's Instagram. It's at Scott Borrero. You can see it here. He has amazing picturs. He has a huge
371,000 followers.
Oh my gosh.
You must be a genius at Instagram. You really do have just beautiful pictures. Scott, give us a tip for getting 300,000 followers on Instagram?
Oh yeah,
How can I do that?
Yeah,
I feel like that's always, the first topic or first question, and it's
desirable.
It's not simple. It's I can't just point to one thing. I think it's a collection of things or things that you do. It's making sure you're consistent, posting great artwork, and really connecting with your audience is important. I think it's so easy to throw up work that's kind of fast and not as thoughtful these days.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you really put some time into your work, I think it really shows.
So when you were, I know you've kind of taken it easy lately, but when you were building your audience on Instagram fast and hard, how many hours a day were you putting into like social media?
It's really hard to tell because, anytime I'm shooting, that could be possible hours that are going to, go into that time.
Yeah.
But, just a couple hours a day, whether it's an hour of shooting and then like an hour or two of editing. I would say just a couple hours a day at least.
Yeah. And most of it, I think, is photography anyway, which is something you probably
I know. With photography, I mean, you want to practice all the time and go out and shoot constantly. And really it was that's what it was. And the byproduct was creating images that I can share on social media. Just having a lot of fun going out with my friends.
Here's a question. Do you get gigs through your Instagram? Do people see your work and then contact you to hire you?
Yeah, I've done work through people finding my Instagram or wanting me to share things on Instagram. In today's world, it's interesting. You sort of have to have this social aspect nowadays. So brands, I think that's really I would say 75% of the brands that contacted me are through finding me on a social network.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the other 25 are like word of mouth. I just really saw the potential of free marketing that social media brings.
Yeah, I see that too. And we talk a lot about the importance of shooting for Instagram. And I look at your feed and that's something I see. Your thumbnails are simple because you know that people are looking at a smaller format, their phones. These are things that we tell people. And sometimes we get comments back where people just don't value this format. And they think that it's not real photography. And it absolutely is.
It definitely is. It's its own subsection these days. It's kind of like, and I hate to compare it to this, but it's like when dubstep came out, it's like, oh my God. And I don't like dubstep, but when that came out, it's like, oh my God, this isn't music. And yeah, it is. It is a music. It's a form of music. Same with social media. Social media came out and it's just a different form that photography is taking on.
Yeah, it's snobbery, right? Like we saw it when digital cameras were new. All the film photographers thought they weren't real cameras and no real photographer would shoot with digital. And that's the way it is now with Instagram. But like you said, it's a key part of you as a professional. And so many of these people nowadays who are too good for Instagram aren't really getting work anyway.
Yeah.
Like they're not working pros. They're naive about it.
Yeah. As a species, photographers, we're just, we're all really opinionated anyways. We're very, very critical.
Yeah.
And I think, the old way of thinking is like, you don't share models, you don't share locations. It's very cutthroat. And nowadays collaboration is really key, kind of embracing each other and really supporting each other as artists is really important. Because these days it isn't as you submit a portfolio and boom, you're with an agency and you've made it. It's it's much more of a hustle these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like 12, 14 hour a day type thing. I think it takes a lot more work to be successful. There's a lot more people competing too.
Yeah.
Because it's opened up to a much broader audience.
I think it's more fun to be a part of the community and collaborate than to see everyone as, competition as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally the wrong mindset to see everyone as competition. I see my friends whether they're joining a collective of photographers or whatever, or they're sharing sponsored content. I know at the end of the day, that's going to help the community. It's going to help artists grow. And I think it's important to just support each other overall.
Yeah, us too. That's kind of our mentality with YouTube. You get a lot of competition. A lot of people are kind of saying negative things about each other in their videos and stuff. And
you're going to get that with the internet too. It's just kind of, you accept it and move on.
Yep, absolutely. So next week, the theme, we won't have Justin with us, so it should be interesting in all the wrong ways. And the theme will be your best shot of 2016. So get your photos ready for that.
Yeah, whatever you think your best shot is, we'll take a look at it.
That's not right.
That's not even right. Let's take a look at some people's pictures. I'll do the import.
Okay.
We're looking at portraits this week. How much of your work is portraiture versus working with, say, an actual model?
You mean like, is in like just shooting kind of, fashion? You're saying like as opposed to fashion and kind of separating regular portraiture, or?
Yeah, I feel like looking at your body of work, it seems like a lot of it is commercial and fashion.
Yeah.
But you do some portraiture for clients or no?
I mean, I do in a sense. It's more portraiture for advertising.
Yeah.
But I would say portraiture. Mainly, a lot of my portraits are just more passion projects, or just shot for fun. And that's my Instagram is actually with the sponsored posts aside, it's all just stuff that I've shot for fun. None of that is really my work. Actually, a lot of my work hasn't even been seen by anyone other than my clients. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Well, I will say that I feel like portraiture, a bigger trend is that portraiture has almost become like commercial lifestyle photography. It's not so much go to the Sears studio and stand in front of a muslin backdrop. It's more like almost casual and
environmental.
It's because we see so much of this sincere, genuine, like almost snapshotty style photography. It's
really
style.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool that for a while I feel like, especially on social media, people tend to favor sunsets and all these kind of like really bright, gaudy images. And now it's interesting to see. We would share portraits and kind of really try to push the community towards enjoying photos of people. And now actually portraiture is very popular on Instagram. It's really cool to see that there's a balance now between portraiture and landscapes and everything else. So it's sort of like people are really embracing portraiture right now. It's awesome to see.
I see a lot of that.
Here's our first picture. It is definitely not a non-traditional portrait. Very moody with this sort of narrow lighting from the far side. What are your thoughts, Scott?
I like the lighting. It's really nice. It's obviously a soft light kind of up and to the right there. I like it. I like the lighting a lot. It sort of seems a bit emotionless. I see it's going for a somber kind of look. But I think if you're going for that look, you could even emphasize that a bit more. Maybe have the hood a little bit higher, cover up her right eye, but our left, maybe fully. But overall, it's really a well done image.
Yeah, great feedback. I don't think I have anything to add to that.
My only feedback would be that the clothes don't match the mood. So there's some lettering on the hoodie, and that's a bit distracting, especially because her eyes are looking down. So you follow her line of sight.
I actually can't see that lettering. Where's that you're talking about?
There's white on her hoodie.
Oh, okay.
Can you see? I don't know if you can see.
I think maybe on my screen it's a little punched in.
Oh, is it cropped?
Yeah,
okay.
It's cropped a bit.
Okay.
You should be able to switch to my screencast in the Google Hangouts if you haven't. That might help. Oh, I actually like it in black and white.
Yeah, and I would put it in black and white as well, just because it emphasizes the shapes.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Yep.
Right.
Oh, wow. So this is a very carefully set up shot. They have a red flash hidden behind the model, bouncing off the reflector to create some mood. Very careful posing. It feels almost like gothy.
Dance.
Yeah. It seems, again, it's really great lighting. I really like the lighting, the contrast. You can see that he's trying to even use the red as a bit of fill. You can see it on the bottom of her hand and kind of on her cheek. I sort of wish that there was even a bit more of that. Like I think it was a bit more intentional to fill with red or something. And to me, I think critically speaking, the skin is just a bit too green.
Yeah.
For me, it's a bit displeasing and disconnecting. But I think overall, it's a compelling image. I think there's just a few things that they could work on, like color, maybe the pose too. Her legs just become a block. Right. It's almost like the torso's floating on a pedestal or something. But yeah, what do you guys?
If maybe the skirt had some sort of light bouncing off of it, you might see some texture, or maybe you could shine a light through it and like show the outline of her legs a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, I'd probably take out the red highlights that she's getting on her face and hand, because you're right, there's not enough to make it look deliberate. It feels accidental. Right.
Yes. Just a question, are all of these photos submitted, they are unedited, or have they been edited and submitted?
Yeah, they can be edited.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I saw you adjusting a bit in Lightroom, and I was like, wow, when you bump the shadows a little bit, we get a bit more of that detail. It's really nice.
We sometimes we edit them and we give editing some suggestions. So if you have some, I can kind of try to
Awesome.
do that. Okay.
For sure. This one here is just, it's a bit too senior portrait-y. The pose is a bit awkward. It's a half smile. I feel like, it was an accidental shot. The lighting's nice and soft, but again, it's not very intentional. Maybe the background is, you like that helicopter or plane or whatever is behind there.
Well, even so, we have like the back of a truck poking in on the left there. It feels somewhere between a candid and a pose shot. Like I do think she was posed, but it's not carefully posed. So you're right. It doesn't feel deliberate. Kind of the way her left or right arm is just kind of hanging there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd put a little, if it were a traditional portrait, you might turn her shoulders a little bit.
Yeah. It's, and the way she's her left hand is up, it's almost like it's floating because there's not a lot of shadow because the white of the plane is filling that in.
Yeah. Good point.
So I feel like, if her hand is even going to be there, bring it more into the frame because it's almost even a half arm right now at this point. It's like, it's just a bit, disconnecting.
Yeah. So I think that they were almost there. I like the location, maybe just change the angle a little bit and work with
the angle too. I mean, you can tell that the light is directly behind him. So it's very flat. It's called, in art school, my teachers always kind of make fun of this lighting, call it birthday lighting because, you're taking a picture of someone and it's just all on camera, flooding flash, getting rid of all the shadows. And there's really not a lot of detail in her face, which can be good in some cases. I just don't think it's very flattering here.
Yeah.
This is such a beautiful spot. And I feel like this is kind of Instagram gold with the heavy mood that we have here.
I feel like with a proper crop, if you come in a bit, just that hand there is the only thing that's kind of undoing it a little bit for me. Her right hand.
Yeah, that right hand feels so weird. It almost feels like it's super long. Like she has a really long arm that reaches down to her knees. It's just because she has her right shoulder down. Yeah. Maybe she was dancing or something. What is up with
Or
that?
even if you went 4x5 vertical, you hit X, come in right about her midsection and then all the way up. So hit it. Yeah, there you go. And then come up a little bit more. Yeah, I think that even works a bit better. Even lower. I mean, give it some room. If this was going to be social, you definitely with social, you let it breathe. You let I feel like the person more room to think. More ways for your eyes to go.
I've noticed in your Instagram, Scott, you use a lot of unusual compositions. Like, I think the more traditional crop would be something like this. But I'll see a lot of shots from you where it'll be a little bit off center, even like pushing way off the edge. Or I even saw a few shots where you just completely cropped unconventionally. And I like that. I think it's eye catching.
Yeah. I mean, I love negative space. I've always loved it. And I crop at weird places and I got in trouble for that on the show for cropping at her head. And limbs and stuff. And I actually, it's something I do and I actually enjoy it. I'm pretty sure I'll continue it forever. It's just, I sometimes like this image here, I love how they cut off the top of her head. They don't show that. It kind of leads and fills the frame a lot.
Yeah.
I really don't mind the fingers so much.
One thing that we always say is the head crop has to be deliberate and not past the hairline. So you don't want to crop into the forehead because then they look like maybe they're just bald up there.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just get the top off and then it looks like you didn't plan.
Yeah, for sure. That's really nice. Her eyes are really incredible. You can tell that they put in a little work on Photoshop.
Yeah, I'm going to give this picture a pick on my radio.
I might actually do a little
I might do. Oh, sorry, Chelsea. Go ahead.
toning. I want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that her fingers, although I don't mind the composition, we could go in, in Photoshop, I think would be a better tool for this, but you could go in with maybe a gradient, radio gradient, throw it over her fingers and bring the highlights down. They're just too bright. Your focus goes right to her fingers because they're brighter than even her face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, great point. I didn't spot that.
Yeah, so even just bringing that down a bit and then take some saturation out of it too would help a lot, I think. Not too much. Don't get crazy with it, but just de-emphasize the fingers as compared to the face.
so we can see a before and after and just subtle little differences like that. It helps to get some fresh eyes on your picture too, because even my pictures, I'll overlook something like that. And
Yeah,
I'll
for sure.
ask someone else to look at them.
What the hell is this? This is so weird. Who took this
This is
picture?
Kevin, and I just ate a lemon. I didn't really. But
This is definitely very candid.
yeah.
I mean, technically, it's great. It's on. The focus is on. The background is nice, and gets that nice bokeh. But
That face.
content-wise, yeah,
I definitely feel like the model was not expecting this picture.
it's definitely not intentional. It's by accident, and maybe I think something that you want to think about when you're taking a picture, you're taking a portrait, is disconnecting yourself from that person that you're photographing. And I feel like this person must have had a really good relationship with this person. Maybe it's his girlfriend or
No, this is me.
Oh,
That's Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So we
Is it
did
your friend?
Wait,
No, we did.
are you this person's girlfriend?
That's so funny.
Scott, why did you have to tell? No,
I didn't even recognize you. This looks like.
Blew up your spot.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
this is in London. I think this was our London meetup.
Okay.
And,
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I was really surprised to see a picture of you.
I thought it was a soccer game around here.
We met up with people that follow us on YouTube, and they
Okay.
took pictures of us. And as you can
Well, there
tell,
you go. That's the connection, is that they like you as a YouTuber, so they want to share any image, something that they enjoy personally, and there's a lot of personal feelings attached to it.
yeah.
And so sometimes you can get confused. Your ideals can get muddled, and you
Can I-
enjoy it not for its technical and art thing, but who they are.
Sorry, trying to recreate the face.
That's one thing I use Instagram for, is to run pictures past other people, because there are definitely pictures that I love too much and I'm
Yeah.
attached to them, but they're not great. And Instagram will tell me that right away. People are
Oh,
never
yeah.
shy to say, this is not a great picture.
Yeah, and I mean, you feel it too. I mean, inside, whether it's a great or not photo, but you sort of need that like just someone to confirm your feelings.
Yeah, my insides don't work that well. There are lots of pictures that I love that are not great until I put them up in public, and then I find out. This is a cool picture. I like the blown out highlights and the kind
Yeah.
of bouquet that we have in the back there. Interesting expression.
My
Yeah,
only
it's
thing is
really
that I think the
crisp.
whites of his eyes were brought out a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, the eye that's in shadow would never be that lit.
Yeah.
You can tell that the whites have been brightened and not the shadows. So there's a disconnect there. I see what they're trying to do, but I think when you're editing, you need to know when you've gone too far. And I would just dial back the eyes,
Yeah.
maybe like 20-30%, and it would balance even just that much better.
So when you're editing, do you use the method where you do your edits and then you dial everything back about 25% because you've
Yeah.
acclimated?
Yep, I know how I edit, and I know I tend to go overboard. So whenever I'm in Photoshop, I make sure I go into every layer, play with the opacity to make sure I didn't go bonkers with something, and dial it back. Usually it's around 70 to 80%.
Yeah, I have to dial it back probably about 40% too. 'Cause I'm pretty heavy-handed.
This is nice. This is nice. I mean, it's very, very moody. There's not a whole lot technically going on with it, but it is nice. I mean, the lighting is up and to the right. It's almost trying to be Rembrandt. The shadow isn't connecting so far.
Mhm.
But I think it's technically, it's proficient. There's just not a lot of motion there. It's just kind of some person's face floating in the dark.
Floating is what I was going to say. There's no context to it. We can't see her neck or her shoulders. There's this kind of like uneven negative space
Yeah.
above her head. And to me, the light is just way too hard. I think if you're doing a fashion shoot, it can be okay to use a small strobe like that.
Yeah.
But that's when you have a makeup artist. Like she needs either a bunch of powder or a softer light, because this light as it is really rough on somebody's skin.
Well, what
Yeah, it
happened
almost
here is that they tried to smooth the skin
Yeah.
and it didn't quite go, it didn't really work out.
Yeah. You guys know what frequency separation is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a
Yeah.
video on that. So this
Yeah,
person,
and that's what it looks like they tried to do, and they kind of messed up with it somehow in the process.
yeah, it can be tricky. It takes a little practice. So
Yeah.
This is a nice kind of classic portrait. The first thing that popped up to me is,
Shevlin's fiance, Laura.
oh, It's so cool to see his fiance.
That's what the file name is.
Yeah. Not like you knew her personally.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the outer coat taken off. That's just like a lot of layers. And I actually kind of like the red and blue plaid that she has underneath.
Yeah, I agree with that. It detracts from, your eye almost goes to the coat on the left rather than to her face, just because the light is hitting that really bright coat.
Yeah.
One suggestion I can give is I'd love to see the camera just raised up another 6 inches, because I feel like you're shooting up at her for some reason. So you're kind of seeing like the underside of her chin. Something people don't think about is your height as a photographer. Everybody just naturally shoots from eye level. I have this problem with Chelsea. Like if she takes a picture from me, she's not as tall as me, so she's always shooting up at my chin. I'm saying we have an apple box in the studio, and you have to stand on that.
I do stand on an apple box like Tom Cruise.
Sometimes we have clients in who are taller than me, and I have to stand on the apple box.
Scott, what are your thoughts on this picture?
Tom Cruise.
I agree with Tony. A different angle would have been, a bit nicer. Maybe either up or going down, and then having her lower her chin a bit, maybe. But then that you might run into the issues of like getting a double chin. So I think just messing with your perspective here. I like what he tried to do with rim lighting her with the light behind her and then putting her face in the shadows. But I don't think it was pulled off correctly. You have like that light kind of streaking through. I would have probably rotated her even a little bit more away from the light, so it's not hitting that side of her hair so much. It's more of a backlight.
You don't quite have that glow. It's just kind of like a hard light on the side of her head.
Yeah. And the fill light is very blue. I don't know whether there's a reflector there or they used a speed light. And so that's disconnecting with, it's nicer when you warm it up. Like maybe in the shadows, you throw a bit of orange in there. But there's a bit of a disconnect because the warmer colors are in the back and the cooler colors are in the front. Where in photography, warmer colors tend to pop out to you, or they should pop out to you more than cooler colors.
Great points.
Yeah. So like in the shadows, you go 37. I usually go between like 31 and 41, and for my shadows for the shadow color, and then dial that balance a little bit. Mess with that, kind of push it more towards the shadows and less into the highlights.
I think that's easier in Photoshop. Because
it's definitely a Photoshop thing, but a lot of the artists these days, especially social media and stuff, is the tendency is to just go into Lightroom, do what you can in Lightroom, and put it out.
I do a lot of that just because it's
I personally love Photoshop.
I do too.
Like pretty much, I'd say 99% of my images go through Photoshop and Lightroom.
You want to toss it to Siobhan and see if she has any questions for us?
Yeah, let's see if Siobhan has any questions. I usually start in Lightroom and then go to Photoshop.
You bet I have questions.
Hey,
you
Siobhan.
personally, or?
No, we had plenty of time to talk before the show. Our friend Sarah Bowman wants to know, on Top Photographer, was there tension between you? Whoa, what is happening to my head? Tension between you and the other contestants, or was it easygoing and friendly?
No, it was very friendly. It's funny because, it's a reality show. So they, I'm sure they do want the drama. And there were points when they would ask, in the like interview rooms, they'd be like, so what are your contestants' weakest, what are their weaknesses and how are you better? Or, do you think that they're going to do well tomorrow? And we all kind of collectively were like, we had talked to each other and became friends in like the first day. And we're like, listen, like none of us, we would kind of bounce the questions or like deflect them as much as we could and say, everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses and I have things I have to work on. So I'm just going to go into tomorrow prepared and stuff, just really kind of glaze over their answers and give them something that they really couldn't use as drama, which I'm sure that maybe they didn't like, but maybe they did. I mean, I think it was really nice that we were all friends and kind of got along.
I actually love that about the show, that it didn't seem like there was contrived drama. That's one of my least favorite things about reality TV. So I thought it was refreshing that you all got along so well.
Yeah, that was actually really cool.
Yeah,
there was no contrived drama. We didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So that was great to see.
Anything else, Siobhan?
Yeah, well, you answered this a little bit already, Scott, but someone asked what your workflow is from between camera and Instagram.
Right. Okay. So from camera, I usually upload to my hard drives, and I really try to label my hard drives, keep my file names and everything really nice. So it goes location or like broad location. So either country, state, and then what that is, I'll do underscore like Yosemite shoot or whatever, and then underscore in the date, just to keep everything organized. So I have the date, I have something to remind me where it is, and then the general location, because that's how I kind of remember things, is where I shot it. And then once I do that, import it into Lightroom. Sometimes I import through Lightroom if I'm in a hurry. And from then, I'll do basic color or basic exposure adjustments to see which images I kind of like. I'll go through, I'll do either flagging or 1-star, 2-star, 3-star selects, where anything that I like will get a 1 star. And anything that's better than that, all the way up to 5. And then once I've selected images that I like, and I've kind of adjusted their exposure, not messing with anything like sharpness, grain, anything that's going to be destructive on the photo, then I'll bring it into Photoshop, do any kind of tweaking I need to do there, such as retouching, color modifications, bring it back into Lightroom for any final global color corrections, like kind of universal toning, and then export it.
Yeah.
And how do you get the last mile to Instagram?
What do you mean? Oh, then I'll just either put it in Dropbox or I will airdrop it to myself.
Yeah. It's kind of a
Airdrop
pain
to
that
the
Instagram
fastest
still
way.
doesn't let you upload from a PC, right? Especially because
Yeah.
so many people use their computers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it sort of limits the virality too, that you can't really do anything from the PC. But in a way, it's kind of cool that it's only on your phone.
Yeah, I feel like it's
that's
cool that they're
good.
encouraging smartphone photographers, trying to
Yeah.
encourage
Encouraging
the
the
beginners.
everyday photographer. Yeah.
Let's take a look at a Squarespace portfolio.
So, Scott, we also review people's portfolios. So, of course,
Okay,
if
sure.
you have some feedback, just
Yeah, no problem.
chime right in.
I flipped through a few portfolios and picked Devaney Photography.
Okay.
You know what?
No,
First, I'm going to look at
yeah.
his pricing, so we can try to figure out what Devaney is up to here.
Okay.
Your investment.
A pricing page that lets people know
Okay.
you're available for hire. And
Here's my thing about pricing pages. I don't like them.
I don't
I
know.
Really?
I think they're very amateurish. I would never put my prices or rates because that locks you into something.
Uh-huh.
You never know what their budget is, or what they really want to spend. So why would you tell them something up front? It's going to limit your value, I think, as an artist. And it's also, you're going to get less work. People are just going to automatically go there. When you can talk to someone, you can open the door to conversation and be like, hey, email me if you're interested. And that way you'll get even more, you'll know that they're already interested if they're emailing you. And it opens the door for conversation. You can say, hey, maybe I start at 300, but I have some wiggle room. Maybe I'll go down to 250. So you don't lose that client. And that's why, if I were going to have prices, they would be above what I would normally charge. So you can negotiate, to a lower price that they probably want to spend.
Those are good points. I think it depends on your level of exposure and
True.
your market too. I think if you're a photographer in a small town outside of Tucson,
Do you have a pricing page?
no.
Because so Tony and I, we have varying opinions on this, because we often tell people to have pricing pages, which I think is helpful if you're doing something like senior portraits or newborn sessions, especially something where you're getting in 10 people on the same day to do the same shoot, just switch the baby out. But for me, like you said, I don't really know what a client wants, so I'm not going to lock into a price if they might want me to do a shoot where I have to build a set and spend a couple $1,000s or something.
Right.
I guess it depends. Me if I were a client and I ran across a website that wanted me to contact them and then negotiate, I would just go on to the next one and be like, I'm just going to find somebody who I know the price and I'm comfortable with the price and
That's
contact
true.
them.
I feel like at that point, though, by doing the pricing and by that logic, you're selecting your demographic that you want to shoot.
Yeah.
A lower income, maybe more common client would like the pricing.
Right.
I think more higher end clients are going to really enjoy the process of reaching out and talking like that.
Also, if you're maybe charging more if the person has to ask. Maybe they're already not in the running for a photo shoot if you're
Right.
shooting more high end. All right, let's look at the guys' pictures.
This is their about page.
Oh, they're a team.
So it's a husband and wife team, it looks like.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, showing off your personality, telling the people who you are, especially in the business they're in, I think is great. It's very important for the client to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is their portfolio. They seem to have multiple galleries. What do you think of this particular layout? You can see I'm scrolling down here and it's kind of showing
like
different
it.
pictures.
I think it's a bit jumpy on my page. I would assume it scrolls pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, it's nice and smooth.
I kind of like it. I think the images are really bright and clear. They're the right resolution, so there's no like pixelation or anything going on. So it's nice. I'm not a fan of the clicking through. I kind of enjoy side scrolling. You can scroll down there.
No, it's showing a like
Excuse me.
film strip at the bottom there, but
Okay.
what do you mean you're not a fan of the clicking through? Like you'd rather have it on a timed
Like,
thing?
So
Or-
the next image is exactly to the right and you're scrolling through it.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's much more seamless and it doesn't break your kind of attention. Like boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm done with this image. I've gone through 3. You almost don't even know when you're kind of swiping through them or it's seamlessly going left or right.
Yeah, and that
it
is an
seems out of
option with
focus.
the Squarespace. They do have that particular layout. So Devaney Photography, they can both consider that.
Yeah, you can definitely change that template. You're right that this feels almost like 2003-ish,
Right.
like what the old style photo galleries used to look like.
What
Or
page-
even a grid layout is really nice. I mean, it's very contemporary, modern because of social media, but it is nice to see a bit more photos laid out, and then you can decide which ones you really want to hone.
What was the page that we landed on?
The welcome page here. There are a lot of layers to this
So-
portfolio.
I'm getting really confused by all of the different layers. I like the one page. I would like to land on the page where you scroll down and it tells you portraits,
Yeah.
whatever. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be, actually thinking about it now, because you have to scroll through all of those. I feel like a lot of people won't even make it to the bottom. They'll hit the first 2 maybe,
Yeah.
and then decide. So maybe past this welcome page, you scroll down and you have like a 3 or 4 grids horizontally with that image, and then like a title over it, like maternity or engagements or wedding.
Yeah.
So you have everything right there up front, and you don't have to scroll through all of that.
Yeah, I agree with you because they're doing a lot of different types of photography. And I think when we land on your page, we should know, can I hire you? Can
Yeah.
you take pictures of my baby? Can you take pictures of my wedding? Just
Yeah.
have it all out there. If you look at the analytics from your website, you'll find that people don't go past the first page. You're lucky if they get to your second page. So you really want to snag them in that first page.
Yeah, it's really important, especially with the leader image. Can we actually talk about that for a second?
What's that?
The leader image on their website, the welcome one.
Yeah.
I think that they could use a better one here from
Yeah.
all the work I've seen. I think it's nice in that it's simple and the welcome lays on it nicely. But as far as the posing and the subject matter is concerned, I think that there could be a better image.
I agree with you. And I actually didn't expect the caliber of photos that they had based on that first
Right.
picture.
Yeah, it seems just very like, hey, I got a camera and took some photos with my friends, just because like the posing is just very awkward, and there's a disconnect between what they're wearing, the way they're posing, the location. It's very, I don't know, ineffective.
Yeah. I like these family shots a lot. They're clean.
Yeah, those family shots are very
Yeah.
clean. They're really nice.
Yeah, and I actually feel like he's got a lot of great shots, and a lot of these could be improved with a little more post.
Right.
A lot of cropping could help out with some of these, especially in this particular format.
Wow, that was great. I like that picture.
That was
yeah,
nice, the little boy on the stairs.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, as far as what his intention is, these are great. That last one with the 4 kids, he shows off the family's personalities and everything really well.
Okay, hope that feedback helps put some energy into post-processing, maybe reconsider parts of your layout and which image you lead with. Here's what Devaney had to say about Squarespace. Squarespace is very user-friendly. Smiley face.
There you go. Just make some quick changes and you're set.
Thanks for sending in your portfolio. If you want your own awesome Squarespace portfolio.
We should go to Scott's Instagram and just show people some of his pictures because they're so great. I'd love to hear some stories behind them.
If you want your own Squarespace portfolio, go to squarespace.com/Tony. Get a 14-day free trial. Use the coupon code portfolio if you decide to sign up. There's no credit card required, so you can just try it out, set everything up, make your pictures look beautiful. Thanks, Squarespace, for sponsoring us. You want to check out Scott's Instagram?
Gonna put him on the spot.
All right, you're just gonna, whoa. Okay, here we go. Instagram, Scott Borrero. I hate the desktop Instagram website.
He put up a picture since I last looked.
Oh my God, Scott, you're working all the time, even while we're talking.
Wow. Look at who I tagged in it.
Oh, wow. You were genuinely talking to us when you did that.
Yeah. I'm on it.
He's on it. You guys, this is why he's successful. See that? Doesn't take a break. I love this one.
It says follow, but I do follow you. I'm just not logged into Instagram here.
That one's a very personal, it's, that's a self-portrait, so.
Oh, it is?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't post them very often, so when I do, I really kind of try to be conscious of how I want to show how I feel or my image.
Where was this taken? Oh, the MoMA.
That's actually a MoMA, yeah. It was my first time visiting. I went with my buddy Robbie, and it was a rainy day, and it was very packed, so I was really lucky actually to stand in front of there with no one. People came by and actually saw us taking that photo, and like, are you guys designers? I guess they thought we were nicely dressed. And they're like, you guys look like fashion clothing designers. And I was like, no, we're just photographers. Thanks, though.
You're like, I'm the top photographer.
No, I like that people know it, but I never would lead off with that. It's, I think there's something to being humble and,
Yeah.
not touting that too much.
I love this photo.
Yeah, I love it too. It's so creative.
Can you tell me what's going on here?
Yeah, so we were actually driving through, I think that's Southern Oregon, and the fog was just really incredible. And I had this idea of it almost looking like a mouth that's closing. And that's where it's like somewhere between feels and feelings. Feels is a very contemporary word for deep emotional feelings.
It has the feels sometimes, Scott.
Yeah, right. And so I just really kind of wanted to have that feeling of like something almost closing on you or pulling like two separate ways.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It almost looks like a reflection, and then you realize it's not possible. It's cool.
Yeah, it's two separate photos.
Yeah.
I love the contrast in this shot. There's no distractions. There's a huge amount of pop to your subject here. You work the light just fantastically, and people don't think about like kicking up dirt and dust particles, but if you do that, it can add so much texture to the shot. Was it just blowing around? Did you have to go in there and like fan something up?
Oh no! So he fully ran around there and kicked up dust because I saw the light coming through, and I love atmosphere, and I know like I can see potential in light and what it has the ability to do.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was kind of coming in at that angle, and I think it was sort of by accident at first. He was running around the truck or whatever, and I saw the dust, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, kick that up!" And so we just kind of like went nuts for a second. I ran back to that spot and then shot it as he was walking in.
You know how I learned that lesson was from Erky Alvenmod, a dog photographer.
Oh, really?
He always brings dogs to a place where they will kick up some dust or sand or something so that when they're running, it'll just come up in the air and reflect the light.
That's awesome.
Just an interesting place to learn a lesson like that.
Any way you get light to kind of work for you it's amazing what you can do.
Yeah, that's really, when I look at your pictures, it's the light that sets them apart from everything else.
That's
great at working light.
That's one thing that I'm very attracted to. I feel like I have, it's something you develop, the ability to see light and kind of really be distracted by it. Like I'll just be walking along and my eye gets distracted by some contrast or some color or something like that. And it's a good distraction. I mean, as an artist, sometimes it can be a distraction, but as an artist, it's great.
Yeah, I can see that in this picture here, picking the colors from the tree and the temple.
Yeah, that one was, it was funny that I normally don't post. So everything I usually post is either iPhone or my DSLR. And that was actually the first one I posted from my little point and shoot that I bought from that trip. And I was really excited. Just a very simple camera.
Yeah.
Why'd you get a point and shoot?
Why did I get it?
Yeah.
I got it mainly for video, and just to create memories. It's more a camera for life. Me and my friends, we kind of joke, when we're out taking photos, we take photos for life. We'll be like, oh, that's a photo for life. And it's just to capture memories, to make sure that we remember all this stuff that we did, especially me, because I have a terrible memory, so it helps a lot.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling when you take a picture for the art, or sometimes you just take a picture for you.
Yeah, and it's important to take photos for you too. You can't always be on 100% of the time with creativity. It's nice to just relax and take something that you enjoy that no one else is going to enjoy, but it means something to you.
Beautiful job with the storytelling here. The almost desaturated background and the orange arm makes a fantastic thumbnail. That kind of thing really works well on Instagram.
Totally.
I notice in a lot of your pictures, people are wearing the perfect outfit. Is that something you plan when you go out, or do you just hang out with really nicely dressed people?
It's a bit of both. So, my friends dress really nice, so I kind of hone in on nice clothing. I particularly enjoy fashion, and some of it's what they're wearing. Sometimes I'll style them, where I'll take jacket off or add something I'm wearing, because I think it's important as a photographer to be to know all the roles. So you have to know about hair, you have to know about fashion, you have to know lighting, you have to know everything that photography encompasses to be really successful.
Yeah, absolutely. This is beautiful light.
That one was actually, I think that's the highest ISO I've ever posted on my feed. I think I was somewhere around 10,000 or 12,000 or something.
I was going to say it's a high ISO shot, but the light is so gorgeous.
It was such low light, and the sun was dipping. It was actually gone 2 minutes after that shot. So I was really lucky to just get that.
Okay, let's take a look at some more submissions.
Guys, go like Scott's Insta.
Scott Borrero. I feel like this is all about his beard and hair. I like that they use the light, and the background feels very flat to me. I almost wish it was at some kind of angle, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think the lighting is great. Again, I feel like the lighting is very consistently good lighting from all these images we've seen. But again, it's just missing something to tell a story. He's just a guy on a background, on a wooden background.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
which
what he's
is
looking
sometimes, you don't really need a lot, but I feel like you could punch in here, maybe with a tighter crop or a longer lens and focus on the details of his face and the beard, because I think that's what is important here.
This is a cute shot, and there's a little bit of a story there with her popsicle. I don't have a good sense for the background. They kind of gave us some information about the photographer and the sunglasses there.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah,
that's really all it is.
The skin tones are just so flat for me. That was one of the first things that struck me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much you can do with that. That's something that's a photo for life.
But it's taken with a Canon F1, so you got to give him some points for that, right?
True.
Yeah.
That's nice. That looks like something we would see on that last website that we looked at. It's really nice. The emotion is great there. The eyes really pop. The only thing that really bothers me off the get-go is the signature, the watermark, and the left side slide coming in.
Yeah, this little bit here. Yeah. And I would definitely go with a different crop. There's a lot of legs and feet in here that to me aren't adding a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we went 1-to-1 with this, we could probably narrow it
down. And if you wanted to get really nitpicky too, you could even desaturate the yellow. But I sort of like it because it's like kids. It's kind of playful.
Yeah, the outfits aren't too bad. It's tough. Kids always like brightly colored stuff.
This is really cool.
Yeah, I like that. It's interesting. It's a double exposure, so there's some thought when someone takes a double exposure. It's I think it's something that's automatically intentional. It's cool.
Yeah, the overlap feels a little conflicting to me.
Yeah, It does a bit. I mean, it could have had a little bit better alignment, but not bad.
So this feels like they're going for a classical painting kind of look. And
Yeah.
I feel like they pull it off here. Her hand is kind of classically posed. Her fingers are carefully positioned. The lighting feels really nice. I almost would have turned her head slightly more towards the camera so that her nose wasn't breaking the line of her cheek. That's just because it seems so traditional.
Yeah, technically, it's another technically great photo, but it just lacks emotion, and it lacks a feeling. You know what I mean? Like, it's the gaze is very bland. The way her mouth is kind of slightly open, either exaggerate that or have her close her mouth, and the crop just seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the background even
It's very
it's
distracting.
one of those weird painted, like it's a very old school background, and I would either just completely drop it all black, or just change it out.
You're right that it could use some distance there. It's just, she's very much against the background.
Yeah, but technically it's great. I mean, the lighting is really nice.
All right, so you're trying out a different crop. Let's
just move on.
Shot.
There we go. That's
the
we're
Oculus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Nice.
I bet they sent that in for you.
I think so. If you're gonna shoot in the Oculus,
Shoot
you got to
up.
show off the Oculus.
Yeah, you got to shoot up.
This is an
Yeah, it's all this
environmental
yellow
portrait,
down
and
here.
they're missing the environment. Like, dip down a little bit, get all that ceiling, increase your aperture, pull a little bit more of that detail out. It doesn't always have to be at f, whatever they're shooting at, 1.4, 2 something. It doesn't have to be at that crop to be a beautiful portrait. You can keep detail in the background.
Okay.
I actually think I liked it better when you started to just blow things out a little bit.
Well, I didn't want to lose her skin, so I like the high key look of the Oculus.
I think
but
there's
then-
just too much contrast. Like,
Yeah.
her skin is too bright in comparison to the darks in her hair.
Yeah, if you bring down the exposure, you can see the detail is there. They didn't blow out her skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very posy to be in kind of a public environment.
Yeah, it's very like they're trying to be like high fashion pose, but there's nothing high fashion about it.
I think this is a really sweet maternity shot.
Yeah, I
I
like
like
it.
how her expression is like she's trying to listen if the melon's ripe. Like she's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to thump it. Just thump it real hard.
Tony.
Yeah.
That's super.
I mean, I
nice.
feel like there could be a bit more emotion, but I mean that's probably just how she
I mean,
was.
Justin laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just there could be a little more emotion,
hmm
but I like the mood of the picture.
Yeah, the feel's really nice. I mean, it seems like a shot in the summertime. I don't know if they added in some sort of gradient to create that wash effect, or that's just kind of light glaring over. But it's nice. It adds a summer feel to it.
How do you feel about all of these accessories in the foreground? The painted nails, the bracelets, the watch, the ring.
They don't bother me too much. The watch, I would say, definitely out of anything, bothers me the most.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tony.
But I feel like it's supposed to be a really real portrait. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to be very nitpicky, yeah, take the bracelets, take the ring off, and really focus on her emotion.
I guess that's their personality, part of their personality, though.
Yeah. hmm
Tony, what are you doing over there?
I just wanted to present this. This is Justin brought this liqueur for us because he likes it, and Justin has awesome
Awesome, thank you.
taste in liqueur. So I would be remiss if I didn't have a little bit of it. And of course, I brought down 2 glasses if you want some.
Sorry,
because-
Scott.
Clearly, you already like it. So there's some for you, Justin, if you think you can handle it and handle that crazy switching that we have going on at the moment.
So, Scott, we talked about some cropping into the head. Do you
Yes.
feel like this is too much cropping into the head?
Way too
Yeah,
much. And you're
that's
also
too much.
they're cropping into the chin on the baby too. Like you said, it's to the hairline, or you just don't do it all.
Yeah. And
You
it's
know,
also
you have
nice
to
to
you
have
have to show at least to like where the part in the hair is, or like their crest. Or I don't know what this area is called. The peak of their hair. I don't know.
the hairline.
Hairline. There we go. Gosh, I don't know why that was.
I feel like I know what happened here. I feel like he has a telephoto lens that he wanted to use for portraits, but his studio wasn't big enough.
Right.
So he was forced into a tight crop.
Or he is using a crop crop sensor camera and like a 50 millimeter, and it's pushing him into like 85-ish.
Yeah.
And he probably can't move back.
But other than that, there was
This is great. Okay, here's a good example of a photo that is not technically as great as the others, but it tells so much story and emotion.
Yeah.
And I love the lighting of it. Yeah, I actually even like the color. I really like the color in it.
Okay.
It's got a film look to it, where the shadows are magenta-y. The highlights are even almost a bit green. And it works in this photo, I think.
Yeah, I can't.
I like the expression. You can tell that they're pals.
You can just tell it's a real moment
Yeah.
that wasn't super forced,
Yeah.
which is great.
I keep focusing on that mug, but in the end, I think
It tells part of
I
the story.
like the mug. Yeah.
Yeah. The mug is a bit distracting. That green thing between them could maybe use a little bit of desaturation, but
When I saw the shot, the first thing I thought was
Crop.
processing. Oh,
so yeah. So here's an example of when you go too far
Yeah.
and you need to dial back the opacity on whatever you just did. And that's something that took me a long time to learn. I would edit photos and people's skin just looked unrealistic. It looked like an alien with smooth, like oily skin. It was very bad. So this, like, just dial back the brightening of the highlights on the skin. And yeah, it's just too over processed.
She looks kind of like Taylor Swift.
she
does
put
a
off
bit.
to me the way her body language is like closed up and her shoulders are square.
And
Like-
she's wearing a black leather jacket in nature. Or maybe it's not leather, but it just doesn't really fit the scene.
The styling.
Yeah, have her take off the black jacket. Maybe there's like something like a flannel shirt under the flannel scarf or something. And you have incredible light there, right? You can see the rays in the background. Go use that incredible light. Don't put her in this flat, boring light. Get some of that. Use that awesome light that you have like at your disposal.
Yeah, and just the angle. A lot of the background here is filled up with just this darkness.
Oh, they used a smoke grenade. It says in the file name, smoke grenade photo shoot.
Okay. Well, I
You ever
mean,
use a smoke
that's
grenade?
really a great way to get the atmosphere. I don't know how good it is for the environment. But
Okay, this is an unusual shot of Miss
that's
Poland.
interesting. I like that it makes me think.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, who is that lady? Why is she there? And
Miss
what
Poland.
are they shooting through? So you immediately, at least it makes you think. And I love that. There's really good color contrast. I mean, you have red, which is like one of those saturated, like bright colors that you can have. And then you have black and white. So it's really kind of a nice contrast.
Yeah, red, white, silver, and black. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then even like blue on her necklace. I don't know if that was intentional. And even yellow, a bit of yellow on her right side.
you know what? I'm giving this one a pick just because I like that. Oh, she's got
Oh,
stormtroopers.
Star Wars. Nice. Yeah, I think actually ultimately I would desaturate that blue if it were my image. But I like it. It makes you think.
It reminds me. Remember, I did a photo series of our daughter where her face was always covered in every one of the portraits.
So we went on a family vacation.
Everybody hated it.
And I kept seeing Tony and our daughter Madeline, and her face would be covered or she'd be behind something. And at the end of the trip, I see that he took pictures and every single one her face is covered. They thought it was hilarious, but nobody else liked it.
Nobody liked that at all.
Scott, how do you feel about this one?
It's an engagement cliche. Stand here and bring your hands together towards me.
Yeah.
I think technically it's great. The focus is on. The bokeh is really nice, but it's a forced image. It doesn't feel naturally them, and the hand positioning is very weird.
Oh, it's so hard to
almost
be
like
a hand model.
There's a
Like,
disjoint in them and their hand holding, so there's a disjoint in their relationship. That's the feelings that you get from this image.
Can we
I
get
feel
really
like there's
real?
some tension in her hands, and her thumb here is kind of
Yeah.
feels uncomfortable.
Or
Let's
not
get
even-
real.
I want to
real.
get really real with Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you so tired of seeing the same photo taken over and over again? Because I feel like there's a photo trend, and then everybody takes the same picture, basically.
I mean, it's insane actually what social media can do or has done with trends. I call them hyper trends when I'm talking about Instagram and what it's done, because they're accelerated trends. They move faster than it ever has before, and they're cool images, right? We all know that they look cool, but they become uncool and untrendy so fast that something else moves in. Like, for example, everyone is shooting girls with fairy lights around them right now. It's very in, and hipster glasses. It's very in, and I'm not knocking it. It's a style. It's like, you know, when you want to be contemporary, you want to stay true to the times, you sort of have to emulate that, and you have to move with the times. But it's taking that cliche and doing it in your own way. Like, don't copy what someone else did. Don't take fairy lights, wrap it around a girl, dangle them in front of you, and throw the bokeh out, because that's been done a billion jillion times. Take the fairy lights and do something different with it. You know, use it to light in a different way. And so that's how I feel about cliches. Is they're necessary. They're going to be a part of art. But the best artists will take that cliche and either ignore it and do their own thing, or they'll take that cliche and put their own spin on it to make it something. Yeah.
We'll take a look at the picture,
guys.
and we'll...
I've actually got to grab my charger real quick.
Okay.
This is great. I love his expression. The exposure is great. My only thing is there's a green tinge. If I zoom in here, you can see his skin looks green and his teeth look a little discolored as well. So I would pull it towards magenta. Those are kind of more natural colors to see in the skin. And it's really subtle, but you can just see the difference. He looked green before, and now he looks...
Yeah.
Yeah, and he could use a little retouching. It seems like he's got something in his teeth.
I think it's actually really great. I mean, I could imagine this if say you were to put a president or a politician in this exact same lighting, same background, it'd be a very successful photo. I mean, you don't really know who he is, so there's not really that personal connection, but I think it's a very successful photo for that person who he photographed and for the photographer.
Yeah, it's a very stately photo.
I kind of wish his eyes were here, though. I don't know why.
Where?
Stop trying to move around people's eyes, you weirdo.
Okay, well, it's a fun snapshot. She's just kind of standing there. I mean, she's in a cool environment, but it's just like, hey, I'm in snow.
Yeah.
There's a car behind me, and it's in snow, too. It's snowing.
I actually really love the colors in that picture.
Not compelling.
Are you going to let Scott talk?
Oh, no, it's okay. I mean, I feel like we can move past that one.
I felt like we could just move on.
It's a snapshot, and we know when it's a snapshot. You know when it's a snapshot.
I like this picture a lot. Good colors.
It's a fun shot, yeah.
That's over processed. Her eyes and lips are way too poppy in comparison to everything else. You can tell that they added saturation into the lips, or that is just an insanely bright lipstick, which I would desaturate. I think the pink colors and the hues, the overall toning is really nice. Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to do it here, but
oh wow, I love that one.
that
Sounds great. I mean, the lighting is very flat, but I like the mystery of it. I like that her hand is moving on the left-hand side. It could use a bit more contrast. Yeah, you dialed that up a bit.
Yeah, it's tough because the skin.
So I would bring the exposure down a touch, like you did, maybe even a touch more, and then bring the whites up a bit.
Let me see.
I'll say I didn't feel this photo like you did, because to me, the photo is about whatever she's doing, and I don't exactly know what that is. I don't know if she's in a stock car or, like, I just wish there were a little more context. Like, is she getting into a rocket ship? I don't know.
That.
But at least it makes you wonder, right, what she's actually doing, and you wonder what she's looking at. I wouldn't say it's not an incredible photo, but I think it works for what it's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think it looks candid, but also very good.
It's nice. I don't particularly like it.
I think it's the flash feels too harsh for me.
Is it a flash? Is that what it is?
Well,
so I'm trying to.
She's getting a shadow of her nose ring on her face.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, maybe that is. Yeah, it looks like it's a flash. It looks like there's two lights.
And I think
that's the sun.
Maybe a little bit too much with the eyes. There was something about it that bumped me at first.
Yeah, it just looks, for how much contrast there is, it looks really flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of contrast between her skin and everything else. It just seems very two-dimensional. And I think it's because of the lighting. It's sort of like that birthday lighting where it's almost on camera and there's not a whole lot going on with it. I feel like if you do on camera, it's got to be a bit higher, like you're doing butterfly lighting, where you get that nice kind of like butterfly look under the nose, that nice shadow, and then fill from the bottom a little bit. Or if you're going for that harsh light look, bring it over your key light to the left a bit more and really get that long kind of nose shadow across the face.
Do you want to toss it back to Siobhan and see if we have any questions?
Actually,
and then we can
Siobhan. We
get out of here.
only talked to her one time. Scott, you've been so generous with your time.
That's all good. I'm enjoying this. And it's funny, I'm actually getting a few comments on my Instagram, people, saying they enjoy it and everything. Okay. So I got to shout out them. Thank you everyone on Instagram, and throw a hashtag blessed in there because someone asked for it. So
hashtag blessed.
It's kind of my catchphrase. I don't know if you got it at the beginning of Top Photographer, but I'd always go like this, hashtag, and then dip down like that.
That's your signature move.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, Scott, what is the point and shoot camera that you bought?
So I actually got the Canon G7X Mark II. It's a great camera. I would say a comparable camera, and even maybe a little bit better, is the Sony RX100 version 5. I got my Canon one because I'm a Canon photographer, and that's just what I know and what I use. But they literally dropped the RX100 5 when I got my point and shoot, and I was a little bit like, oh man, I wish I would have tried the Sony. I've never actually owned a Sony, but I've always wanted to try one, and I guess that would be a good kind of entryway into Sony cameras.
Yeah, they're nice. Their sensors are just like silky compared to Canon.
Yeah, the sensors are incredible these days. I mean, I love Canon. I'm a big fan of their colors. Even more, I've seen, my friends file straight out of the camera with the Sony, and I think they're good. I think Canon colors are just slightly better for me anyways.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I never think about colors too much because everything gets processed for me anyway. Yeah. But yeah, for sharing stuff direct out of it, it can matter a lot.
Yeah, I mean, with my images, I try to, with not all of them, because I do like to have a bit of surrealism, kind of like pump in some crazy colors. But with a lot of my images, I like to let the natural colors speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I just want to show this picture because it's from our friend Erlen, who is Smackjacks, which is not the correct pronunciation.
It's Smooshix or something. Sorry.
Anyway, he was at our workshop. This is a model that we hired, Miku. And I just wanted to show this picture of Erlen. He brought his Canon 5D Mark III out off the edge of the boat and just was swimming around with it.
What? Like in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just in the ocean, off a boat.
That's incredible. God.
It was insane, right? No housing or anything. So he became my new hero at that point. Like, I would never have the balls to take any camera into the water like that.
The last time I took, actually, I have a picture of the last photo my Mark III took is water bubbles, because I was near the water, the edge of the ocean like that, and I was getting down to try to catch the texture of like the little waves that were curling over. And a rogue wave, it wasn't really rogue, it was just, I was not paying attention, came through and hit my body, and it was a light splash at most, and it was toasted.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of bodies wrecked by water too.
Yeah.
But not LB. What else you have, Siobhan?
Oh, back to me.
Back to you.
Oh, we're doing some questions real quick.
I missed it. Scott, how did you get your first commercial or business client?
So actually, my first business client, the day I would say I got my first paid gig, this is before Instagram. This was maybe 2000. I've been shooting for like 8 years, so it was around 2010-ish. I actually made my business cards online. I think I went to some cheap website, made a couple hundred business cards, and I literally went around my neighborhood and I handed out business cards to every single business in the neighborhood. And that was the only way I knew how to start. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make this work. And I actually went into this one shop, and it was kind of funny. There was a photographer in there photographing stuff for them. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm going to drop my card off anyways. So like while he's shooting, I kind of sneak in there and I'm like, hey, here's my card. If you ever need a photographer, you could contact me. And he pulls me aside. He's like, actually, this guy kind of sucks. Can you come in for an interview tomorrow? And I was like, yes, I can. Yes.
Wow.
And so I went in for an interview the next day, completely lied my ass off. Like, oh yeah, I can shoot in studio. I can shoot glassware. I have studio set up, like lied through all of it, got the job. And then the next day I went to like Michael's and like all these craft stores and put together like a little tabletop setup so I could actually shoot it. Like I made my own light boxes. I literally took those poster boards that you would like use for science fairs and stuff, cut out a rectangle, folded it up, and then put tissue paper inside as the softbox as the diffusion material, and then fired 2 speed lights through that. It was, I think my first job experience was so interesting and unique that they really kind of like was like, dang, I could do this, and it kind of excited me, you know.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's great.
Because we hear a lot of people that are like, well, I don't have this gear, so I can't do it, or I don't have this opportunity, so I can't do it. But you just knocked on doors. And
no, it's really like, it's all in like what you want to do and like what you want to accomplish. Everyone, you know, there's this story that I like to tell people. When I was kind of getting into Instagram, I had already been shooting, you know, as a photographer for a few years at this point, but nothing was really kind of clicking and popping off. And I was like, I really wanted to travel and do travel photography. And I met this travel photographer and I was like, you know, I really respect what you're doing. And I just wish I could do it. And that was like how I closed. And he looks at me very seriously and he goes, well, then why don't you do it? And it's so simple, but just him asking me that was like, why don't I do it? What am I doing in my life that I can't be doing this? And so once that switch, like, you know, turned, it was like all the doors opened up. So it's really anything you want to do, you just do it. And maybe it won't happen right away or whatever, but if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen. And that's what I did with my photography. I just made it happen.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that if you just take that first step and try to do it instead of just imagining wanting to do it, then something's going to happen. At least something's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and people key into that. They see when you're passionate or when you really want something. They hone into that and they're like, oh, wow, this guy's serious. So, you know, it's all about taking yourself serious and your passion and your goals serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people's success stories have a little bit of bullshit in there and then a lot of
hard work,
trying to catch up and overcome it.
Oh, yeah.
Like you throw yourself in the water and then you learn to swim.
Yeah, there's so much that you have to deal with, you know, going through it. It's just, you know, hurdles that you get through.
You guys.
Inspirational. You ready to get out
here? We're coming up on 6:30. Do you want to look at a couple of bad pictures and see if we can find something?
That'll be fun. Let's try to say positive things.
We'll try to
this picture was nice. I hate to skip over this guy's picture.
Compositionally, toning. It's a bit soft, lines. So I feel like what you could do is go in and you know, do some dodging and burning, where you know you would burn you know, the left side of her nose, the left side of her cheek, really along the hairline to give shadow and contour to her face.
Yeah,
and it could be really great.
Yeah, the light is on her face; it's just a little flat, but you can bring that out.
Mm-hmm.
This is our first picture.
Oh wow! All right.
So this is a segment called "We're Too Nice." And people bust us about that and say that no matter how terrible a picture is, we never just say that it's terrible. And the reason is we try to be encouraging, right? So now the challenge is people sent us terrible pictures that we couldn't possibly come up with anything nice to say. And I'll say right away, like, Chelsea, you take this one.
I think there's interesting light. You have some blue and some red, so there's some contrast in the color there, and a lot of texture and a lot of mystery.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Scott, I got this. Okay.
Let Scott try.
So going back to that image. Okay, so colors. I can appreciate the color here because they're using primary colors.
Right.
They have red, yellow, blue, and sort of in a triangle between the left corner, that red there, the blue. So it kind of leads your eye around. And they have a circle in their photo, so your eye automatically goes to something compositionally, and at least it's near the thirds point.
Yeah.
Scott
and you know
so
what
much
else,
better
Scott?
At this than me.
You know what else? You have these brake discs here, and they're a circle. Then you have the line of the wheel well, and then you have the line of the hood.
And it just leads your eye around so perfect.
Oh my God, concentric circles. It's fantastic use of composition.
Oh, a bone wreath. Scott, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Oh, this one's difficult. Okay. We're trying to say nice things, right? We're not.
Yeah.
Bad, okay.
It's bad. We have to go back and reset. Like, wait.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I like the bow.
Yeah.
The bow is tied nicely.
Yeah.
and it's almost near the third, so it's sort of like compositionally okay.
I like that they found a photo that showed a different take on things. We're all used to this holidays being all cheery and
brilliant.
stuff, and they mixed in something dark and morbid. There's a juxtaposition there that we're not even expecting. Next, here, this is just like beautiful nature at work.
Yeah.
You know,
Mother and father bringing around another generation. It's beautiful,
Scott.
fantastic backlighting here.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the subject is so strong and compelling there. It's almost an analogy for the cycle of life. You
Yes.
know? The contrast. I
Oh, this needs no editing, Chelsea. What are you doing? Anything you do could only...
That's actually, high contrast black and white. It just adds to the art value of it.
I kind of liked it.
Wow, this natural circle marred
It's a mushroom.
deliberately.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
yeah.
it's a
This
mushroom.
one, it's compositionally, they centered it. That's nice.
The light easily could have been washed out, and you might have lost all of that texture and the concave, convex movement
I
of
think
the
what's
subject.
nice is that they keep their grass at a really good height. Any shorter and the roots
It's
would
good.
burn.
It's actually like they trimmed it around
The
the
mushroom.
to make sure that the mushroom could grow.
I respect that. How about this one?
This one actually I enjoy. Are those text is supposed to be there?
Simulation
Is
of the effects of alcohol, tobacco, and sugar over time. Of course it's supposed to be there. It
Oh, I
ties it
see.
all
Okay,
together.
okay,
It's
okay.
part of the story.
Sugar makes you look old?
It almost seems like pop art. So I do kind of appreciate that. Like if they were to just take the shadows down and get rid of whatever, like that guitar, I think that we're seeing a part of, or whatever, anything that's not the image on the screen, if we could get rid of that.
How dare you? This picture was perfect as it came in.
There we go.
Just art arrived at us. And
This is actually awesome.
the birth of a serial killer. This is so amazing to see.
I actually like this picture.
Turning from a photographer into a mass murderer.
It's so candid, but the on-camera flash really works. His perspective. You don't know why someone's pouring water on him, but he doesn't really care because he's such a badass. It's shifted. There's like that distortion of reality time. Like it doesn't follow, like the horizon isn't straight, so it kind of sets you at like off automatically.
Yeah, it
And
feels
then-
candid.
And they have time. They're playing with time and how they froze it and the clock on the wall.
I like the dirty wall, and it says stop bath, so we know that it's a dark room.
Hey, there you go. I didn't even notice that.
Great job freezing the motion of the water. You could not have picked a better shutter speed and the use of the flash there. This dog, just the motion in the picture truly captures the dog's personality, and I hate to see like an entire nose. I only like to see a small fraction of a nose.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The minimalist nature of this photo and the negative space here, the use of lines, drawing. Chelsea, what are you doing? It was perfect to begin
I was
with.
trying to see what that was. Maybe a ghost.
Oh.
That
I love
would
that
be
they shot
fantastic.
it. I love they shot it wide angle to get all that detail in there.
Mhm.
4.6 millimeters, to squeeze all of that texture and line.
Yeah, people say you can't get great photos with a Huawei Y300 camera phone, but you can, obviously. Who needs a real camera?
It's a piece on contemporary smartphone art.
This isn't bad. This kid came from those creepy shadows, and he's a monster. It's great storytelling.
Yeah, this is a badger that just transformed into a human. And to capture that moment and to capture somebody capturing that moment is what's really important, because you understand the context of it.
I don't know how many more of these I can do.
Yeah.
This is rough.
All right, we'll call this the last one. I feel like this is really intimate. This is a close-up of somebody, and we don't often get this intimate with somebody, but it's cool that they love an L or a C.
Or it's a bee
I thought it was a bee.
flying, right? Maybe.
A bee
Or
flying. I
heart.
thought this was a close-up of somebody's skin and like a prison tattoo of a heart and a C. Or
If you zoom out, if you stand back, it looks like that could be the bee's wings, and then the bee body, and then like lines for it flying in one
swirl.
direction. right?
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
like
thought
cloud,
too.
cloud shaped.
Anyway, that's what's great about the photo is the mystery of it. It opens everybody up to discussion. It's a conversation starter.
It makes you think. There you go. See, the bee's just zipping through.
The bee smiling as well, which you couldn't notice.
Wow.
I fixed it.
Incredible. Wow.
Scott,
Guys, we won that.
we
You
did.
can't stump us.
Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, no problem. I really had a lot of
And
fun.
really, congratulations on your win. It was exciting to watch. And everybody should go watch Top Photographer and see Scott's journey to his eventual win. It's very exciting.
Go to stp.io/top. You can binge watch the whole series, and let's encourage them because I want to see a season 2 out of Top
Yeah,
Photographer.
I think it would be really awesome to see a season 2. You know, this is a great start for the show, and I think it's a great opportunity for photography in general to sort of be pushed into the limelight. You know, we're not all going to be totally happy with the way photography is portrayed, or maybe like the constraints that they put on contestants to really make it seem unrealistic. But ultimately, it's going to elevate our careers. It's going to elevate photography to another level. You know, if it continues. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say watch the show, support it, and look out for season 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, did you know we were supposed to be guest judges for season 1?
Oh my gosh.
We would have been
that would've
judging
been
you.
so intense. I would have been sweating even more bullets than I was in the first episode.
All right, everybody. So check out Scott. He's an incredible photographer. There's a lot to learn just from looking at his photos.
And we'll see you next week. Your best picture of 2016 is what we're looking at next week.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Squarespace.
Awesome. Thank you,
Squarespace.com/Tony.
guys.
Coupon code
Peace.
portfolio.
#blessed.
Hashtag blessed. Get it in there.
Yeah. All right. See
Bye,
you
guys.
guys.
Thanks, Siobhan.
Thank you, Scott. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no problem. Are we off now?
Yeah, you stuck with us through the hard times.